Hello and welcome to Fashion Bites. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of the Screwball Noir, Crime of Fashion Mysteries, featuring Lacey Smithsonian, a fashion reporter in Washington, D.C., the city that fashion forgot. When I started Fashion Bites, I mentioned that I might occasionally talk about things that weren't specifically about fashion or clothes. I might discuss writing, my books, or other subjects. This is one of those times. Today, I want to talk about how the setting can act as another character in a book. For example, if you read Raymond Chandler, you are back in Los Angeles in a land of heat and neon-lit bars. Chandler vividly writes about mean streets and cold-hearted blondes. Concentrating on setting is another way of clothing your story and giving it layers and depth. The best mysteries take you to a specific time and place where you can practically taste it, hear it, smell it, see it, and touch it. When I read a book, I want to be taken there. I want to know the writer has done her homework and knows what she is talking about. In my Crime of Fashion Mysteries, Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia are essentially characters. They help to inform the story. When I decide who is in the scene and why they are there, I can always dither over what they wear later. Lacey travels throughout the area to various locales where she finds fashion crimes and misdemeanors, as well as murder and fashion clues. Although I live far away now, I have to check in with the places that feed the stories, the places in which Lacey Smithsonian lives and works. Recently, I spent time back east to refresh my memories, and to make the odd purchase like this necklace, which is a copy of one that belonged to Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. I bought it at the National American History Museum, and I think it's oh so faux Jackie-O. So let's take a trip now to Lacey's environs and see how these places are interpreted in the books. Old Town Alexandria is nestled along the banks of the Potomac River, where warm spring breezes caress visitors to the waterfront. There are restaurants and ice cream shops for those who indulge in between strolling. There are cruise ships and touring boats, and the stately paddle wheel riverboat, the Cherry Blossom, which is painted yellow and not pink, and no one seems to know why. The waterfront is also the home of the famed torpedo factory. It appears as a main location in the book Shot Through Velvet. Here is a description from that book. Since moving to Alexandria, Lacey had spent many hours wandering through the torpedo factory, perusing the art for sale, watching the artists at work, and admiring that large lime green torpedo in the main hall, a sample of the weapons built there for the Navy. The factory dated to the World War I era, but it didn't reach full steam until World War II, when 5,000 workers, many of them women, were slamming out torpedoes around the clock. It was the era of Rosie the Riveter. Lacey's Aunt Mimi had had friends who worked there. The torpedo factory hadn't produced weapons for decades. It had transitioned in the 1970s into a community arts center for Alexandria, its cavernous interior partitioned into a maze of nearly 100 small, glassed-in artist studios and cozy galleries. It found a new life. Further on in the book, Lacey finds herself at the climax of the action. She's in a conversation with her boyfriend on a phone, Vic Donovan. "Where are you? Aren't you with Turtledove?" "No, I'm on the second floor by the circular staircase. You know, with all the sculpted faces on it." The decorated staircase wrapped around the old smokestack. Her view from there commanded the entire first floor. "Where are you?" "Center hall, side stairway, first floor, securing Claudia." "Why didn't you go with—" "Oh my God, he's there, Vic, downstairs by the Cellophane Horses studio, walking past the pottery, near the big torpedo, walking fast, by the big—" "Got him, I see him." Vic hung up. Lacey flew down the stairs, right past the Eye's head photographer. Hanson, as usual, was draped with cameras. Further south from the torpedo factory, on the Potomac, is Lacey Smithsonian's apartment, which overlooks the river. Here is a brief description from Killer Hair. Lacey sighed and admired the view. A slight breeze rippled the air. It was understood that on lovely spring evenings Brooke was always invited. Lacey supplied the gin, and the seventh-floor balcony overlooking the Potomac River in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia. Brooke brought the tonic and limes. It was pleasant on the balcony, even though Lacey hadn't planted her petunias yet, the only flowers that would grow for her. She and Brooke had nursed more than a few drinks and broken hearts right here. Dyke Marsh is another place where Lacey finds peace when she has troubles to work out. Here is another description from Killer Hare. She strode through Bellhaven Park past the marina and turned off the main path into Dyke Marsh, a wetland wildlife preserve. Small waterways wound through the marsh, opening up vistas on the Potomac where trim sailboats were anchored waiting for their absent owners. The path was green and quiet. The panic that had set in with Rat Boy's rant was easing. Damp earth smells tickled her nose, and she felt lighter and lighter the more she walked. Farther down into the green woods, signs of the last storm were still evident. Nature had waged a small war on itself. 2 huge oaks were uprooted, and they laid angled across the path, their roots splayed out in sunbursts reaching heights of 8 and 10 feet, their trunks 3 feet and more across. Park rangers had yet to clear the path with chainsaws, forcing walkers and joggers to climb over or go around them. Lacey could see rough new trails, but she chose to climb over the first of several large limbs. In spite of the damage, blossoms still clung to some of the bushes, scenting the air with honeysuckle. Lacey drank it in, ignoring everything else in her need to forget the menace of Radford's angry threat. She heard a twig snap behind her as she climbed up over the damaged tree. A leather-gloved hand abruptly closed over her mouth, and another, the right, grabbed her around the waist. Lacey struggled as she was dragged backwards toward the dense woods. She assumed it was a man, but not a huge man. Her first thought, it was Boyd Radford, but she didn't think he had the courage. Maybe he had sent a henchman. Krispy Kreme donuts. Inspiration can come from a wide variety of settings, and Krispy Kreme donuts has a lot of fans in Lacey Smithsonian's world, notably Harlan Wiedemeyer, as the opening of Hostel Makeover makes clear. It was a sign, all right. Lacey Smithsonian wasn't quite sure what that sign meant. Her thoughts were momentarily overwhelmed by soul-shattering thunder. The lightning bolt that struck the neon Krispy Kreme donut sign had also knocked her flat on her butt. From the rain-soaked ground, she watched in horror as the 25-foot-tall, steel-girded donut monolith wavered to and fro, sputtering in its last flash of light before crashing down on Harlan Wiedemeyer's brand-new Volvo. The Volvo she had stepped out of less than a minute ago. I ask for a sign, and what do I get? A giant neon sign of doom. Trujillo's words came back to her. Watch out! Bad things happen when you hang out with that guy. If you want to see the March of the Doughnuts, as Lacey likes to call it, just head down Route 1 to Krispy Kreme Doughnuts. A lot of people see a beautiful place and think of picnics or parties or shopping. Mystery writers see places to stash or discover a body. That's how it was when I first discovered the beautiful Huntley Meadows wetlands within a stone's throw of Alexandria, not far from Route 1. Imagine my delight when I received this email from a reader. Quote, I live in Alexandria, Virginia, right next to Huntley Meadows. I frequently walk through the park for exercise. Being a huge fan of mysteries, I've thought on more than one occasion that the place would be perfect for finding a body. So what fun it was to be reading Designer Knockoff last evening and come across a body found in, yes, indeed, Huntley Meadows. Here is a description from Designer Knockoff. Lacey led the way through trees behind the nature center to another footpath that brought them to a small observation tower. It was outside the crime scene tape, but it might give them a view of the cops at the curve of the boardwalk around the marsh. On the upper platform, cheerful placards explained the protected wetlands ecosystem and wildlife, including the great blue heron, egrets, ducks, beaver, deer, and geese. From the top level in the growing daylight, they could see the boardwalk around the northern end of the marsh. It circled the east side of the pond and then trailed off into the woods, leading to the observation tower where she and Tony were now standing. Lacey lifted her small 10-power binoculars to her eyes. Binoculars, Smithsonian? I had no idea you were such a child of nature. Let me see. He reached out for them, but she pulled away. Hold your horses, cowboy. She kept the glasses locked on the slow-moving crime scene investigators. Some were standing on the boardwalk, taking photos. 2 in rubber hip boots were in the swamp up to their knees. They seemed to be extracting a large, mud-caked object from beneath the boardwalk. That's all I have for now. If you want to know more about me or my books, check out my website at ellenbyerrum.com. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to this channel. I really appreciate it, and if you're a subscriber, you won't miss any. Feel free to share these videos and comment below. This isn't a secret society, and I'll see you next time. Bye.